as parents, we go through life experiences, and every experience we go through, it's frosting that glass a little bit more between us now and our previous self.
Welcome to Lemons and Curls, a podcast for moms and girls. I'm Rebecca Ann, the spirited, energetic mom.
And I'm Milena, the witty, adventurous daughter. We are so happy that you are here with us today. Listen together with your mom
or daughter while we laugh together, encourage each other, and get real about the challenges we face while trying to navigate this wacky world.
Our hope is that we can not only bring a smile to your face, but that you will leave encouraged and energized.
Welcome to Lemons and Curls. It is Monday.
Still.
Again. Happy Monday. It is kind of crazy around here because school officially started today.
Yep.
How's that going?
It's good. I'm doing what's called PSEO classes in Minnesota. High school students in their junior, senior year can take classes at the college for free, which is awesome. So I'm doing that this year. Today was orientation, and I found all my classrooms and things like that. So
get it all taken care of?
Yeah.
I didn't even have to go. No. That's kind of sad. But at the same time, I'm like, woo-hoo, you go, girl. Yeah. But then I'm like, pouty, you don't need mom. It was a little bit conflicted. I was a little conflicted today.
Dad really wanted to go.
I think Dad was a little conflicted too. He was a little disappointed yesterday. He's like, what? I can't go with her?
Nope.
So tomorrow actual classes start, right? So It's winding back up. I know a lot of you guys that are listening are all in the same boat. Either classes have started or classes are starting very soon, and it looks all different. And so in honor of back to school, we are going to be recording a back to school bonus podcast sometime this week and get that out to you guys.
Sometime this week. No guarantees on it. It'll come out eventually.
Yes. We will make time for it though. We have a really great layout and figure out what we want to talk about. And we actually started trying to record this on a car ride. We figured out some microphones, but then technology failed. So now we can re-record it.
It failed us.
So that's kind of humbling. We have to, whenever some technology fails, it always takes us a couple of days to be able to re-record it because it's just so frustrating. So we will re-record it, but we know it's going to be awesome because we already recorded it once.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. So you are going to really want to listen. And it's going to be for public school, hybrid,
homeschool, first time homeschooling or turning homeschooling.
Or even if you're doing a full at home model, what is that called? Not hybrid, virtual. Yeah, if you're doing virtual.
If you are somehow, anyhow connected to schooling.
Yes.
It applies to you.
It does. It really does. We have some really great tips. So you want to listen for that. But for today, you have something absolutely marvelous.
I do. I have trivia questions for you. Are you ready, Mom?
Yes. My brain is so not ready, but I am.
My brain is not ready either.
What kind of trivia? Wait, are we talking just general trivia?
No,
or are we talking hippos again?
Food trivia. The last time we did trivia, it was about hippos. This is about food. So these questions have 4 answers, but if I feel like you don't need the 4 options, if I feel like you don't need them, I won't tell them to you. You have to guess.
Oh.
All right, are you ready?
Oh, sure, yeah.
This one I'll give you the 4 options.
Must be hard. Thank you.
Which nut is used to make dynamite? Almonds, pine nuts, peanuts, or walnuts?
What? You need to use nuts to make dynamite?
According to this website.
Walnuts.
No, it's peanuts.
Now, I'm going to have to go back and look at that and find that out and find out that peanuts are in dynamite. Otherwise, it's going to drive me crazy.
Google it. All right.
I have to Google it. You're not going to let me do that now, though.
What was the first cold breakfast cereal invented in 1863?
Wheaties.
Granola.
Wheaties is old though. I mean,
not
there's
even
some
on-
really old boxes.
It's
of
not
Wheaties.
even on the choices. All right. Who invented Coca-Cola? Do you have any idea whatsoever? I'll give you two choices. John Matthews or John Pemberton?
Well, I do know his name is John.
Or maybe it was Charles.
I have no idea. John Matthews.
Nope, John Pemberton.
I am doing
You
a
have
really
50-50
poor
chance.
I'm doing a really poor job with this today.
Right.
Okay.
How
I'm
many
gonna get one.
calories per gram are stored in protein? That's kind of a weird question. 2, 3, 4, or 5?
How many calories per gram?
In protein.
I would say 5.
4.
Darn it.
What is the only U.S. state to grow coffee beans? Florida, California, Hawaii, or Louisiana?
Hawaii.
That is correct.
Kona coffee. Yeah. It is so good.
All right. What does the word onion mean in Latin? White sphere, small oyster, large pearl, or white oyster?
Large pearl.
Yes.
Because they've got small pearl onions and large pearl onions.
Small pearl onions are really good in, what was that stew?
Boeuf bouillon.
Yeah, that.
But we use venison in it.
Yes.
But it's Julia Child's boeuf bouillon recipe.
Okay. What is the only edible food that never expires? I feel like you should know this one. We talked about it not too long ago.
We did.
Maybe you weren't there. Maybe I was talking to Luke about it.
Water.
That's
No, that's not it.
I'll give you another guess because that one was pretty bad.
Can you give me one option? One option.
I'm not just going to give you one option. Okay, I'll read the choices. White rice, honey, rye, or barley?
Honey.
Yes.
Honey. I kind of thought that, but I didn't say it because I was nervous about getting another one wrong. So
You guessed water.
It's because I knew it wasn't right.
And you were worried about getting it wrong. All right.
Well, if I tried and I got it wrong, then that's different than if you purposely get it wrong.
Okay. What condiment was sold in the 1830s as a medicine? Soy sauce, ranch dressing, ketchup, or maple syrup?
I say ketchup.
Yep, that is correct. I don't know what you would use it for, besides potatoes. Potatoes are good. What is a tall chef's hat called?
A tall chef's hat.
A toque. I don't know. Toque. Toque.
Toque.
Who knows?
It's French.
All right, last one. How many flowers do honeybees need in order to make 1 pound of honey? 900,000, 1 million, 1.5 million, or 2 million?
That's all a lot of choices.
Uh-huh.
Those are some busy bees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the smallest number.
900,000? It's incorrect. It's actually the largest, 2 million.
No
You
way.
need 2 million flowers to make 1 pound of honey.
That is amazing. I always I don't really want to befriend any bees out there, but whenever I see a honeybee, I'm always like, go on, little honeybee. Go on.
All right, quick little bonus question. I just saw this one on here. This one's funny. What is a group of turkeys called? A clutch, a rafter, a brood, or a peep?
It's a clutch, isn't it?
It's a rafter.
It's a rafter?
Yeah.
Those are fun ones.
A group of owls is called a parliament.
Mm-hmm. And a group of crows
is a murder.
Is a murder. There's some funny ones out there.
What was the pugs? A group of pugs is called something to do with snorting.
It's just called fun.
Like
a group of pugs is just
something.
funness. It's awesome.
Snorting, adorable, rolly, wrinkly.
Oh, I love pugs.
Pugs
I
are
love
so
dogs. They're so fun.
Anyways.
All right. So are we done with our trivia?
Yep. That was
Hopefully everybody else that was listening did a much better job than I did because
Yes.
I pretty much failed that one. We do have this really awesome part 2 chat with Tessa Stuckey that's coming up next.
Yep.
She is an author and family therapist. We talked with her on our last podcast about her book, for the sake of our youth. And we had a really great conversation. So you can find our part 1 podcast.
Yep. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out first.
With Tessa.
Or just listen to this one and then listen to this one and then go back and listen to that one too.
But we ended with just on a really great note with like kind of connecting with your kids. And today we're going to pick it up with a reference to frosted glass today, which I think is just a beautiful reference of how, as parents, we can kind of see our past teenage world.
Yeah, your past self.
How we can relate that to our own daughters and sons. And then we talk a lot today too about social media because it is so prevalent and some really good tips and tricks and how social media is affecting your kids and even you as a parent, or if you are a teen listening and you've got a really good handle on social media, even just a really great perspective of how your friends might be handling it.
Or yourself too, if you don't feel like you have a good handle on it.
So a good challenge with social media, I think, for everybody that's listening is to just try to be a little bit better. Like if you're really stuck on it, try to do something.
Yep.
So that you can replace it, maybe instead of just saying, I'm not going to do this, replace it. A connection, then maybe decide that instead of doing a half an hour after dinner, sit down for half an hour on my phone, I'm going to take that time and connect with my daughter and ask them fun questions, ask little trivia questions that we do. You can do whatever you need to do to just kind of maybe replace it with something that's really great time instead.
Without further ado, interview with Tessa.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of your book and all of the kind of deep things we have to talk about today, we're going to ask you a couple more fun questions, okay?
Sure.
Do you love or hate roller coasters?
I hate them. I've tried really hard to like them, especially like when I was in high school and like I had a crush on a cute boy or something and he loved roller coasters. I wanted to be that cool chick that loved them too. No, not for me. I really don't like them.
Yeah. I'm like the same way with water slides. Like if we go to water park, I will not do any water slides, but I actually kind of like roller coasters as long as they don't like go backwards. But I prefer them over water slides.
Yeah, I'm a roller coaster girl. I cannot really do them anymore. I used to laugh at my aunt because she took me to go do roller coasters. We used to live close to Cedar Point in Ohio growing up. So it was a day trip. We could go there for the day and there's tons of roller coasters and she would take us there and we'd go riding. And then a few years later, we'd go back and she'd take a while to recover and we'd pick on her about getting old. And now I'm like to that point, like I can do one and I'm like dizzy for the rest of the day. So
yeah, I get really bad vertigo. Like with swings even, which is so embarrassing to say, but it's true. But I have not been on a roller coaster in maybe since I was like 20. So I choose not to go that route. But I'm kind of the opposite of you, Elena. I love water slides.
Interesting.
I love them. I crave to go to a water park.
No, that's really funny.
Yeah.
I wonder what there's something behind that.
I don't know. I think with the roller coaster, like you're so out of control, like you're strapped into a seat and like if it's going to turn upside down or whatever, like you literally can't get out of it. I guess it's the same thing with a water slide, except maybe it feels a little bit more free or it goes by faster. I don't know, but I love water. So
yeah, the water slides are better. Interesting.
Yeah.
So really, I want to touch really quick. I loved this one little section that you had about frosted glass.
Yeah.
A parent's perspective on looking through frosted glass. Could you just explain that?
Sure. Yeah. So it kind of goes with that disconnect between mother. I discovered it or came up with that theory when working with a lot of moms and daughters, and then looking back at my relationship with my mom, and I hear all the times moms saying, well, I was a 14-year-old girl once. Like, I know what it's like. And my mom's saying that to me, and me thinking, well, if you did know what this felt like, then why are you being so hard on me? Or where's the compassion? Right. And so what I discovered is, as parents, we go through life experiences, and every experience we go through, it's frosting that glass a little bit more between us now and our previous self. So the frosted glass is not a wall between you and your daughter. It's a glass wall between you and your previous self. And every time you go through an experience or a journey or an epiphany or something that helps you grow emotionally, that glass gets a little bit more frosted. And so if you try to look at your 14-year-old self through that frosted glass, you can see the image, but you can't pinpoint all the details of it. And so that's what's happening a lot of times with parent and child or teenager is, I remember being 14. I remember being emotional. I remember certain things that happened to me. But can I hone in and focus on the exact emotion I felt, all the emotions I felt at that time? No, because I've moved so far past that, and I've matured in ways that I can handle that differently now, that I can't connect and relate to that fully. And so the point of that theory is really, truly more for moms and dads to recognize, yeah, you've been there, you've done that, but your experience is not the same as your child. And so we have to kind of step back and go, okay, well, what is this like for you? And I remember it being hard. So let me show a little bit more compassion towards you and allow that space for you to grow as well.
The last cultural influence that I want to touch base on, because we've talked a lot about connections. Mm-hmm. The one that's such a big one that we want to discuss is social media. And it is such a big deal, especially during the quarantine. Like it was a big deal before, but now it's just even bigger with people trying to connect. So what have you noticed about that influence of social media and teen suicide?
So I break the social media into 5 different parts of how I believe that it's affected teenagers and has contributed to the rise in suicidal ideation, depression, and anxiety for teenagers. And I'm going to try my hardest to not mix them up, because I do mix them up every time I talk about it. But one is that they can't turn their social life off. Their social life is on 24/7. They can't escape from it. I remember if I didn't want to hang out with certain people, I just didn't answer the phone, the home phone, right? Or didn't log into AOL Instant Messenger or whatever. And I just stayed home and hung out with my family. They can't do that anymore because people are snapping them, sending them Instagrams, getting on TikTok, all this stuff that they would have to turn their phone off or delete the apps. And that's really hard for them to do because that is their social outlet. Mm-hmm. And they don't want to necessarily, because they do want to see what's going on, but at the same time, it can be damaging to their self-esteem. So it's a double-edged sword with that one. So they can't escape it. So that's creating some addiction too. So phone addiction is very prevalent and very real. It's that same dopamine rush I was talking about earlier. And people have and not just teenagers, but people have a really hard time putting their phones down. And that's contributing to that disconnect, but also sleep deprivation. So I kind of go into that a little deeper in the book. Another problem with social media is the unrealistic comparison. So sitting there and going, oh, their life is so perfect, or, oh, her body is so great, or I want to be like that, or I want to look like that. And then forgetting that that person probably is not posting all the pictures that they took or how they actually look, or it's edited a little bit, or, they were actually, in Florida last year, not right now, and forgetting that part of it. I don't know how many times even for myself, that I've been somewhere with a group of people and it's not a really exciting time. It's kind of boring, but everyone gets ready for that picture and smiles real big. And then they put the captions, best night of my life. I love these girls so much. These are my ride or die, blah, 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 blah. And me walking away going like, wait, we literally didn't connect or talk or do anything fun. Like you want the world to think that we just had a blast, you know? So the unrealistic comparisons are really big. What's another one? Oh, cyberbullying. So I talk a lot about that in my book. And, you know, with social media and cyberbullying, it's just too easy for people to say hurtful things. You know, they don't have to deal with someone confronting them face to face. And they can think about what they want to say. You know, they don't have to come up with a comeback right off the bat, you know, and so it's just too easy for people to spread that hurt. And as parents, we really need to teach our kids, one, not to be that person, but also to understand that hurt people. And there's so many hurt people behind a screen. And that's their issue. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to take what they say to heart. It still stings and it still hurts, but maybe it won't hurt as much if we understand that aspect of it. Now with social media, since I wrote the book, it's been brought more and more to my attention with all the sexual predators on social media and that being their avenue of really getting what they want. And that's scary too.
It's very scary.
Yeah. So there really does need to be a lot of internet safety training from parents. And I am a fan of some of like the monitoring apps and even the routers that people can get for their homes just to block the really inappropriate things that you don't want like your 9-year-old to see. And it can really help with filtering that stuff out.
We've taken to monitoring for both of our kids, Elena 16 and Luke 14.
Yep.
And
on our phones mostly.
As far as from a teen perspective, what do you think about that?
I don't know if I'd be considered like a typical teenage girl because I'm not like on my phone a lot, really. I mean, I do have Instagram, but that's about it. So I don't have like all of the different social media apps, but I actually asked Mom at one point because I felt like I was spending too much time on Instagram. Like, can you put a time limit on there for me?
Yeah.
So a 15-minute time limit for Instagram for me. I basically run through it every day. So I'm like,
well, yeah.
But at least it doesn't.
Yeah, that's good though.
I'm like spending 3 hours a day on it or like getting distracted on it.
Right. Yeah. I think that's huge.
Ask about that too. Just, you know, spending less time and how can you know, and we kind of talk about that. He has a little bit more of a hard time separating from it than Elena has. And so we've, you know, every child is so different that you have to kind of adjust.
Yeah, you have to adjust. Yeah. It is. It's good though. I think a lot of parents think that they can just get these apps or parental controls and then walk away. But I'm a bigger fan of continuing the conversations and checking in, seeing how they're doing. And I really, every time I bring this to any teenagers' awareness, they always agree with me. And they might say, I hate that my parents look through my phone, or I hate that they control this and that, or they turn off all my social media at 7 p.m. But at the end of the conversation, they always say, I am actually really grateful that my mom does that, because then I would just be sitting around on my phone all day, you know? And so, and I have those clients too that they stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning on their phones, and it's just not healthy for anyone.
Right. And, you know, typically the things that make us healthy aren't things that are inherent for us to want to do. Right.
Right.
So it is something that's, you know, to be healthy with it does take some self-control. So.
Yeah. So is there a difference between like the different social media apps? Like, are some kind of more like cause a little bit more comparisons than others, or is one better than the other?
That's a very good question. I am a fan of holding off on social media for kids as long as parents can, just because all that stuff I mentioned about it will affect them at some point. And I can't imagine being like a 12-year-old girl and having an Instagram and already having insecurities at 12 years old and then flipping through and seeing some of that stuff. And so I think it's just really important for parents to be aware of that. And I always tell parents, if you're going to let your child get an app, to get one themselves so that they can learn how to be on that app and what it's all about. There's this really, really great website called protectyoungeyes.com. I was going to say your eyes, but it's youngeyes.com. And it literally has all the apps and it educates parents about everything. What the app is, why it's good, why it's bad, how it could be harmful. And I mean, it is amazing what they have on. They've done all the research for us so that we don't have to feel too overwhelmed. But yeah, I mean, Snapchat, it's really easy to hide things. Instagram, it's really easy to compare to other things and see things that maybe you didn't want to see. TikTok is a whole nother, right now, I mean, I think it's like the devil.
I have to agree with that one. We cannot do that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of TikTok.
Mm-mm.
So
I try to immerse myself into all the apps that come up that are the apps to be on. And so I had a TikTok account. It is extremely addicting. Like extremely, like you don't want to put it down.
Okay.
And I made one video and I posted it. And within an hour, I think like 400 followers started following me and they were all grown men. And the video I posted was not like a provocative or inappropriate. I was playing the ukulele. So it wasn't anything inappropriate. And I was just so disgusted that all these men were commenting and following me all of a sudden within 1 hour. And I just, nope, I'm going to get off this thing. And I don't want anyone else to get on it either. And it's,
well, that's so great to hear from your perspective too.
One of the big my cultural influencer from my book is that we live in a world with immediate gratification and that kids aren't learning how to cope. And so TikTok is playing into that big time. I mean, it's 60-second videos and kids get distressed about something. So they just turn to their phone and watch TikTok videos all night long and stay up all night. And it's just horrible. It really is.
Absolutely.
And not to mention the unrealistic comparisons and thinking,
pretty much feeds into normal. All of it,
right? Yeah. Delete TikTok.
Delete it. I think we can pretty much agree to that one too.
Yes.
We have a couple more questions before you go. First of all, if any of our listeners have children that they're concerned about, any of our friends or anything about teen suicide, they're noticing anything, what can they do? What's the next step?
So asking some questions, of how are you doing? How do you feel emotionally? I'm really big on helping our kids build their coping skills list, what that would look like. And I ask the questions, what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to do to relax? And what can you do when you're feeling upset? And if they have that list ready to go, even if they just put it in the notes in their phone, then it will help with learning how to cope a little bit better. But if they truly are nervous that their child is having really dark, scary thoughts, then they need to get them into counseling ASAP. And the best way to find a therapist is through psychologytoday.com. And what I tell people is to make a list of the goals and what you want to get out of therapy or what you want your child to get out of therapy, and then start your internet search with that in mind. So you want someone who specializes working with teenagers or someone who specializes working with kids or works with a lot of suicidal or self-harm clients. And if you're really worried about them, then you need to either safe-proof your house immediately, meaning like pretend that your teenager is a little toddler that's going to get into everything, or take them to the hospital.
Okay. Good to know. And our last question before you go, we ask all of our guests, what advice do you have for other teens and moms?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I would say to prioritize time together and to find acceptance within each other. So that includes the daughter finding acceptance with mom. A lot of times we look at our moms as not being human or not having any flaws, or maybe only seeing the flaws and not forgiving them for those flaws. And it's really important as daughters to open our hearts and our minds just a little bit and to get to know our mom as a human. I remember being 19 before I realized my mom was like an actual person, not just my mom who had a life before me, right? And giving your mom that mercy and grace will bring you really far with your mom. And then vice versa with mom, is to see your daughter, especially if she's a teenager, to see her as a person, not just as your cute little 4-year-old that you used to put big bows on, but as a real person who's seeing the world with new perspectives for the first time and has her own opinions and her own thoughts and her own interests that might be different than yours. And that's okay. And to trust that journey.
Wonderful. Wonderful advice. Thank you so much. So where can they find you? You have your book.
So you can get my book off Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And any independent bookstore can order it as well. And my website is tessastuckey.com. And I'm on Instagram as The Mom Therapist, or you can find me on Facebook as Tessa Stuckey, I think. I don't know what my name is on Facebook.
We'll make sure that we put all of those links in the show notes and everything. So if anybody's listening, you can just go ahead and click and find you.
Great.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining us today. If you or somebody that you love is struggling with suicidal ideation, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. To learn more from Tessa Stuckey, you can go to tessastuckey.com. That's TESSASTUCKEY.com. She has a beautiful book that we talked about, For the Sake of Our Youth, a therapist's perspective on raising your family in today's culture. You can also find more links to her information in our show notes or on our website at lemonsandcurls.com. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will talk with you soon. Bye-bye.